welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Adrian. I'm a freelance artist, and today I'm going to be working on rendering a spread in my sketchbook while I talk about some of my goals for my new sketchbook and some goals I'll be setting for the new year. So feel free to sit back and bust your own sketchbook out and draw with me. And if you're looking for setting some goals for a new sketchbook or stumped on what to draw on your sketchbook, I hope this helps. So my first goal this year is to finish a sketchbook. This is pretty much my main goal this year. I am infamous for being a chronic quitter with my sketchbooks, mostly because of my perfectionism. Not only do I want to work on being less of a perfectionist, because it just sucks all the joy out of making art, trying to make it perfect, or aesthetically pleasing, or marketable all the time. But I think this is a good goal to start getting back into making art more frequently, since I had to put art on the back burner in high school. I'd really love to finish the sketchbook in less than a year as well. My second goal is to fill more than one sketchbook. Filling more than one sketchbook this year would be amazing, but my main goal is to just finish one. If possible though, and I get into a good enough habit with daily sketching and painting, I'd really like to try completing more than one sketchbook. Naturally, if I achieve this within the year, and even if I don't, I plan to make a video giving a full tour of my first completed sketchbook here. Third on my list of goals for this sketchbook is to try at least one new medium. When I started taking my art more seriously, most of my work was simple portraits with pencil or colored pencil. Eventually, I moved on to using alcohol markers and watercolors in my illustrations, and I branched out into acrylic a bit when I was in college, but I'd really love to learn how to use gouache. I typically do my line art first, then the rest of the rendering afterward, so I usually don't look for opaque mediums, but I think something like gouache that can be more transparent or opaque depending on how much water you use would be a fun new medium for me to try. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I've been working on designing both prints on clothes and making original art on clothing, so getting more into textile work is a definite part of my plan this year. The next goal here isn't so much sketchbook based, but business based. I'd like to start selling stickers and prints. Currently, I'm just taking commissions while I'm finishing up my website and online shop, but once I get a handle on it, my first few products are probably going to be prints and stickers. I'm also planning on hopefully making designs for some shirts and hoodies, and once I pick a company to help me make them, some keychains and enamel pins. But I'm starting small with a few pieces and trying to keep everything as affordable as possible for anyone who wants to buy my art. Number 5. This one's another career-based goal for this year, but I'd like to make more videos. As I expressed in my last video, I had to go on hiatus from my channel because of my workload both in high school and college. So while I'm taking the time to set up the business aspect of my art career this year, I want to make videos documenting such, from art supply reviews to studio vlogs and my usual painting videos. I'd love to do a live stream at some point if anyone's interested, as well as some painting videos done in real time. I have to speed up my videos a bit so they're not a solid 3 hours long, but if anyone's more interested in longer real-time videos like that, likely with some music instead of a voiceover, or would like to see me talk about something in particular in my next video, feel free to let me know in the comments. So, coinciding with my last two goals, I spoke about this briefly in my last video, but I'm currently working on setting up an official website to sell my work, as well as a commissions page instead of my current setup where I take commission requests through my business email. This isn't so much a goal as much as a work in progress. The commissions page is almost done, but in the meantime, if anyone's interested in commissioning me for a piece, please feel free to check out my link tree in the description. Okay, so getting back into my sketchbook goals, goal number 7 for me is making new original characters and working on character design in general. There was a time back in high school where I dreamed of making a comic when I was in college, and then the harsh reality of a college schoolwork schedule hit me pretty fast. Despite that though, I'd love to do a series of illustrations with a regular character, or just work on improving my character design. I'm very used to drawing real people and turning them into characters from reference, so I think it would be a great skill to work on developing in terms of making my own characters without basing reference models on them. My next goal is to improve on line art. This has been a goal that I set every couple of years. This time around, instead of just practicing, I want to watch some tutorials to better learn how to improve my line art. I am so terrible at making remotely straight lines without a ruler, and I'd really like to work on that. Goal number 9 for me is to use less references. This coincides with my last goal. Using references is easy and a great way to practice studying something new that you can't regularly find to practice with, but I'd really love to work on being more stylistic than prioritizing accuracy, and see where my style develops from there. Goal number 10 for the sketchbook is to improve on drawing poses and anatomy. This is a pretty standard goal for me. I had to do a lot of life studies and anatomy practice in my first year as an art major, and I haven't been studying it so much now that I've been working on art outside of college. So it's mostly a goal to remind myself to keep studying it and practicing it until it becomes more second nature to me. I still have to use a lot of reference photos when doing anything with a pose or a full body piece, so I'd love to work on developing my skills with proportions and anatomy until it's more natural to me. My next goal for the sketchbook is to draw more landscapes and backgrounds. This one's been a goal of mine for a long time, but I haven't felt that I could take the time to properly execute it until now. Especially since I want to start using gouache and more opaque mediums like acrylic paint markers. I'd really like to improve on painting landscapes, scenes in nature, and the dreaded background. Most of my portraits are pretty simple background-wise, and I'd love to add more to them and make more complicated pieces, especially when turning them into prints. I used to be pretty terrible at drawing buildings too, but I really want to push myself to be okay with being bad at something first in order to get better at it. Goal number 12 is to just draw more animals. Aside from my current hyperfixation with drawing pretty little insects, I don't think I'm too great at capturing anything with fur. I'd really like to improve this year on creating texture though. I'm pretty reliant on making line art first, then rendering after, often with transparent mediums like watercolor or marker. So I think working with more opaque mediums and making more opaque layers will help me create texture instead of trying to achieve texture head-on with my pens. So for goal number 13, similar to goal 12, I'd like to draw more plant life. My abuela was an artist. She didn't get to do it professionally, but she was a great painter, and she used to make these beautiful artificial plant arrangements like Christmas trees with fake red and green feathers from the craft store, paper bonsai and money trees. And I have a lot of her little sketches and paintings of landscapes and seascapes from when she traveled across Europe with my mom. I always think of florals when I think of her, and I think her interest in nature ended up being passed down to me, because paintings and little illustrations of flowers and plants always catch my eye. So I'd like to study that more in my sketchbook this year, and maybe even in my pieces. I sadly don't have her green thumb at all, so I can't grow a beautiful garden, or the giant jade plant that she grew that's at least 30 years old now, that my aunt trims and gives pieces of to my family so that we all have a piece of her plant in our homes. But I think studying nature in my own way would be a nice way of feeling a little closer to her. Okay, the next goal on my list is that I want to make more finished portraits. In most of my sketchbooks that I've worked in, I tend to start my portraits and only completely render a few of them. I'd really like to change that this year and just make more finished pieces, not just for printmaking, but also for my personal artwork. Goal number 15 is that if I don't like a page, I make a new one. I used to tear out pages that I didn't feel were very successful, especially if it was a sketchbook that my friends or art teachers would ask to look through. I really want to quit this habit this year, either by painting over the piece and making a completely new one, or painting over it and starting the piece over again. If anyone else is struggling with fighting perfectionism in your art, or tears the bad art out of their sketchbooks, maybe give this a shot. Alright, my final goal for this sketchbook is to loosen up, because art's more fun that way. I started working on making abstract pieces in my second semester of college, and it was a lot of fun to try a new style that isn't so rigid or completely aesthetically based as my more illustration-based pieces. That's inspired me to experiment more with my style and loosen up in the process. While I still want to commit to finished pieces in my sketchbook, I also really want to get more in the habit of loosening up and doing warm-up sketches and quick studies that don't have to be perfect all the time as well. I know that was a lot of goals for one sketchbook, but frankly, this is probably going to be my goals for any sketchbooks that I work on in the near future, especially if I actually manage to finish more than one this year. I recently have a lot more time in my daily schedule to make more art and work on my art career, and I've been having a lot of fun taking advantage of that. For anyone interested in a print of what I'm working on today, or some stickers of it, please feel free to let me know in the comments. And again, if anyone has any questions or anything, or wants to suggest what I make a video of next, please feel free to let me know here, through the email on my Linktree, or feel free to message me on Instagram. Well, that about wraps up all my goals for the sketchbook, so I'll leave you with some music in the background for the rest of this video. I hope this maybe helps some of you come up with some sketchbook goals, or at least feel a bit more inspired to get into a sketchbook habit this year. I hope you all have a great day, and a Happy New Year. Bye!